three major problems which are looming over the United States as the month of October begins, Michael Snyder reports. I have a feeling that October is going to be one of the most tumultuous months that we've seen in a really long time. Ports all along the East Coast and all along the Gulf Coast, Gulf of Mexico, are about to shut down, and that could throw U.S. supply chains into the state of chaos for an extended period of time. Meanwhile, vast areas of the South are just starting to recover from a once-in-a-generation storm that has done about $100 billion in total damage. Sadly, economic conditions in those states will not return to normal for the foreseeable future. On top of everything else, we are less than 40 days away from a presidential election, which threatens to absolutely rip this country apart. And if you can see the storm clouds that are rapidly approaching at this point, if you can't see them, you must have your head in the sand. Tonight, 45,000 dock workers from a total of 36 different U.S. ports are scheduled to go on strike. U.S. ports from Maine to Texas could shut down Monday night if a union representing about 45,000 dock workers carries through with a threatening strike. A lengthy shutdown of 36 ports, which handle half of America's cargo from ships, could cause shortages and, of course, price increases at big and small retailers alike as the holiday shopping season approaches. Walmart, Home Depot, IKEA, and Amazon, who import tens of thousands of containers a year through ports on the East Coast, would be worse hit. We have not seen a strike of this magnitude in nearly 50 years. Of course, 50 years ago, we made a lot more of the things that we buy on a regular basis in our own country. It's being reported that the dock workers are demanding a pay increase of close to 80%. The International Longshoremen's Association is demanding a pay raise that works out to about 77% over 6 years for union members on a typical rate. Their wage would go from $81,120 to around $143,520. Retail expert Neil Saunders of Global Data told Daily Mail that the strike will cause two main problems. Shoppers will face higher prices and empty shelves. And needless to say, they are not going to get that much of a pay hike. Either they are going to have to lower their demands, or we're going to be facing an extended strike. If this strike goes on for a month or more, it's going to have an enormous impact on our supply chains. So if there's something that you really need, I would get it now while you still can. Of course, this is happening at a time when the South has just been hit by a once-in-a-generation storm. There are vast areas that will never be the same after this. Many are comparing this disaster to Hurricane Katrina, and that's not an exaggeration at all. At this moment, millions of Americans that were hit by the storm are really, really hurting. Short on supplies, power, and patience, storm victims who saw the brutal force of Helene upend their lives have emerged to a new week facing daunting challenges of rebuilding. Some of the roads and bridges they need to do the job are not there anymore. Electricity could be a week away or longer. Emergency services are stretched. Communications infrastructure is in shreds. And neighbors, some of whose own homes are gone, are helping neighbors, all the while worrying about the fate of those from whom they haven't heard. Now, we are warned that this storm would be unsurvivable. We were warned it could be unsurvivable whether it first came ashore, and that was most certainly the case in the small Florida town of Steinhatchee. As Hurricane Helene pounded Florida's Gulf Coast this week, it virtually wiped the small town of Steinhatchee off the map with 10-foot waves and 140-mile-an-hour winds. Although the town was evacuated, the 500 people who saved their lives came back to homes and businesses destroyed by the Category 4 storm. It's heartbreaking, Donna Landon told New York Post. She suffered the total loss of her mobile home. The Post toured Steinhatchee on Friday, which is located about 90 miles southeast of the state capital, Tallahassee. There were few buildings not blown away by the storms, and the ones that survived total demolition were heavily damaged. Now, what made the storm truly unique is that it continued to cause immense devastation hundreds of miles inland. In North Carolina, entire homes floated away from subdivisions. The rushing water rose 5 feet higher than the Shenandoah River than anyone had ever seen. The ground disappeared on South Tunnel Road, leaving a giant sinkhole full of asphalt soup. Houses floated away from subdivisions, bridges crumbled, the floodwaters flipped semi-trucks into mangled piles, mud and tree branches and food from local grocery stores floated into the streets. Asheville, North Carolina has been completely and utterly devastated. We're talking about a city of nearly 100,000 people. Of course, North Carolina will be one of the most closely watched swing states during this election. Will this storm have an impact on how residents of the state vote? So far, help from the federal government has been very slow to arrive, and people are not happy about that. Needless to say, this election threatens to unleash a wave of civil unrest that is unlike anything we have ever seen before. And once it starts, there will be millions of new arrivals that will be quite eager to join in. And according to brand new data that was just released, there are approximately 425,000 convicted criminals arriving in the U.S. illegally. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials published new data this week indicating there are as many as 425,000 convicted criminals living in the U.S. illegally. The individuals identified by ICE are listed on the agency's non-detained docket, a component of its Alternatives to Detention ADT program. These programs ensure compliance with release conditions while ICE works to remove migrants from the U.S. And these aren't just people that have been accused of committing crime, these are people that have actually been convicted of a crime in a court of law. A CBS News article that attempted to put a positive spin on this number actually admitted that many of these criminals have been in the U.S. for many years, and it's also admitted that many of them cannot be deported because their home countries won't take them back. The bottom line is that many of these convicted criminals described in the letter have been in the U.S. for a long time. Before the Biden administration took office, according to the government data and officials, some are still in federal or state custody serving criminal sentences and are likely to be arrested by ICE, and others cannot be deported because their home countries won't take them back or they receive legal relief from deportation in immigration court. Sadly, the numbers of criminals continue to rise with each passing day because more are constantly pouring over our wide open borders. The stage has been set for widespread chaos on a level that most people don't even want to think about. And I haven't even talked about the situation in the Middle East in this article. As Israeli forces go into Lebanon, what sort of chaos do you think we'll see on college campuses all over the nation? My friends, a perfect storm is here, and the month of October is only just the beginning. And this is from Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. About the author, Michael Snyder's new book entitled Why is available in paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 8 other books available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies, Future America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and The Most Important News, and he always freely and happily allows others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times when people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.